No one said the road would be easy, but I don't believe the Lord has brought you this far to leave you now. If you know that's to be true, why don't you give God a praise tonight if you can. I'm so glad to be able to be here. Thank you so much, Dr. Marine, for the wonderful introduction. Thank you so much to Dr. Pam for this incredible vision. Isn't this absolutely spectacular tonight? Of course, it's an honor to be able to share and see so many individuals receive awards. But you have to understand, of course, tonight that rolling up your sleeves and doing something for a dynamic cause is the greatest reward. Do me a favor, quickly just nudge the person who's sitting next to you. Wake them up just a little bit. Nudge them and tell them just how much they owe you for allowing them to sit next to you.
Okay.
Come on, tell them you owe me $50, you owe me $100. You owe me something in addition to your tithe and your offering tomorrow. You better recognize who you sit next to, because if you don't know, now you know. I'm a gift to somebody. You may not want to embrace me, but you can't repeal and replace me. I'm so glad to be able to be here tonight. I'm flying all the way from Detroit, Michigan. And so I tell you, I preach in the words of what we say on the east and the west side. On any side of the city, I preach in the words of what up, dog. Look at somebody, just tell them what up, dog. Dr. Marine suggested and mentioned that I'm from the Caribbean, from Kingston, Jamaica. My accent does betray me, so I consider myself Caribbean African tonight. Isn't this a Wakanda moment tonight for sure? Come on, just throw your Wakanda forever up tonight. This is a Wakanda moment. Can't nobody do it like us. I don't know about y'all, but I love us. I love me some us. Don't you love me some us?
Yes.
Tonight I know my bearded baby face betrays my age, and since you're so inquisitive about it, I'll tell you what my age is. I'm older than Michael B. Jordan, younger than Michael Jordan. Wakanda man of you, Wakanda woman of you. So glad to be able to be here. As I said, tonight I've got some product that I know is going to really empower you. All the brothers, why don't you give it up for all these beautiful women here tonight? Sisters, why don't you give yourselves a hand tonight? Do I got some queens that are in the building tonight?
Yeah.
Come on, every queen, you ought to give another queen a high five, a hair flip, 3 snaps in the neck roll. Tell her, you go, girl, with your bad self.
Yeah.
You all that in the bag of Bibles. You all that in the skirt of scriptures. You better go with your bad self. Listen, I've got a book here with me. There's 66 books in the Bible. I've only written 8 of my own, so I got a long way to go. One of my books here is Queen, Dear Queen, and it's really a love letter in book form to women to really embrace yourself, to love yourself, to know your worth. You know, you can't expect nobody to love you if you don't love you.
Amen.
Queen means quintessentially unique, empowering everyone naturally. Real women don't compete, they collaborate.
Amen.
They don't chase a man, they chase their purpose and plan. The right man's gonna chase and pursue them.
Okay.
Real queens understand that their royalty demands loyalty. I've got another book here that is really a conversation between men and women. My latest book is called Woman. Woman stands for wonderfully orchestrating magnanimous achievements naturally. They all on sale tonight. They're all on clearance. I'll be glad to sign one for you at the conclusion of this tonight. You know, I could really stand up here and engage you in linguistic calisthenics. I could stand up here and be intoxicated with the exuberance of my intellectual verbosity. I could really endure you in a soliloquy and be loquacious and bloviate about Socrates, Plato, Aristophanes. But I didn't come tonight at all for that. Tonight I really came to empower you with just a few words. According to Philippians chapter 4, verse 13, which says, I can do all things through Christ which strengthens me. I want to tag that text tonight. Just look at somebody and tell them the last 4 letters in American. Tell them the last 4 letters in American. Tell them the last 4 letters in African spells I can. Look at somebody and tell them I can.
I can.
Look at somebody else, that's the wrong neighbor. Look at the other neighbor, tell them we can.
We can.
Listen, more than ever before, I realize tonight that I am a proud descendant of kings and queens from the continent of Africa. These individuals that are literally living inside of me were subjugated to be slaves and packed like cargo on the transatlantic slave ships. They survived, and because they survived through slavery, rapes, beatings, and inhumane torture, you and I can now thrive. An African proverb suggests, for my brothers and sisters in Kenya and Tanzania and all parts of the continent, that the two most important dates in your life are, number one, get this, the day that you were born. I know you get happy about that. You celebrate your birthday like it was a national holiday. All the September babies were up here. But it's not just the day that you were born, and secondly, it's the day you realize why you were born. What is your why for living? I know what you want, I know when you want to get it, I know where you want to receive it, I know how you want to get it. But the question becomes why? Because the why speaks to the whole aspect that you have a purpose. As long as you have a pulse, you have to realize that you have a purpose. And it's one thing to do more than just to breathe life, but you got to live life. It's one thing to exist, but you have to have the power to live. Because the original gangster rap revolutionary music suggested this: if I can help somebody as I travel along, then my living shall not be in vain. W.B. Du Bois put it this way, he said, we are the talented 10th that must invest into the 90 of society to transform our classrooms, our communities, those of them that are in crisis. You can see around this world today that we even have in the White House a perverse president void of principles. Can't keep it real, so all he gives us is fake news, as his lips drip with the words of interposition and nullification. We've got money for bombs, but not for books. Something's wrong when we got money for war, but we won't feed the poor. Something's wrong when we got guided missiles, but misguided men and women in our society. How do you maintain a dream when you're living in a nightmare? When you come from communities with liquor store, trap house, liquor store, gas station, where you got more weed stores than you do grocery stores. And so people get high, but their life is level low. Where does it come from, the place to where we have to say to ourselves, we got to do more than just wear our suits and wear what it is that our garb is, have our money and our honey, our credit or debit that probably still can't get it. But what can we do to come together more than ever before? We can see tonight, even in our communities, that there's a hopeless haze hanging over our city, over our environment. James Baldwin declared, he said, to be black in America, to be relatively conscious, is to be in a rage almost all the time. Simply because there is righteous indignation in the streets as well as in the nation. Many people have destructive anger, but when we turn that anger into action, when we begin to understand that we have to come together more than ever before, those of us who are from the continent of Africa, those of us who are from, was taken in ships to this continent of America, North American continent, we have to come together more than ever before. Dr. Cornel West says, you can't lead the people if you don't love the people. You can't save anybody if you won't serve them. And the question is tonight, what is it and how will we stand up to not just be on the sidelines, but to engage on the front lines? We have to have something more than ever before to where we're not divided, but we are united. To where we understand that we are our brother's keeper. We are our sister's protector. And we have to understand that tonight, more than ever before, we have to mend the ties in many cases that bind. We always talk about the interracial mending that needs to take place in this nation due to racial divides, but we fail to talk about the intraracial healing that must take place between Africans and African Americans. It's got to be more than just a movie on Black Panther. It's got to be a real life message that takes place. We must realize tonight, brother and sister, that we are better together. We know about the tragic Jewish Holocaust, but what about the inhumane Holocaust, where 10 million plus African bodies were thrown in the Atlantic Ocean? Always wondered why they called it a Holocaust, but I realized it was because they paid a cost, because it was a hell that they had to go through to pay the cost of ancestors 400 plus years of subhumanistic slavery. We are all African tonight. It just depends on where the British boats dropped us off at. Some of us were dropped off in Brazil. Some of us were dropped off in the Caribbean. Some of us were dropped off in America. Yes, we came all on different boats, but tonight we all in the same boat. When the colonizers came to our African nation, they brought religion and we had the land. After they had us pray, they prayed on us to where we had religion and they had the land. See, it's now or never that we must realize and decide that we have to stand together. As Africans, as African Americans, we have operated as fingers for far too long. We're doing so many great things individually. But once we come together and bring those fingers together like a fist, then we can knock out depression. We can knock out drug abuse. We can knock out gang violence. We can knock out incarceration. We can knock out crime. We can knock out the negativity that seems to pervade in our communities. Look at that neighbor and tell them, yes, we can. See, coming together is a beginning. Keeping together is progress. But working together is success. I know you G'd up from the feet up tonight. Ladies, I know you got your hair whipped, tipped, fried, dyed, laid to the side. Brother, I know you got your Zello you got your Brioni suit and your Zello tie. Sister, I know you got your Louboutin heels, but it's not so much about you having red bottom heels, but it's you got to know that you covered in the blood of Jesus. It's not so much about you reading, you wearing St. John, but I'm wondering, are you reading St. John tonight? To where you say, I'm going to fight the good fight of faith. If we don't fight for each other, we'll continue to fight against one another. If we don't love ourselves enough, someone will teach us how to hate ourselves. You got to know your worth. You got to embrace your inner value and beauty. Who said your hair was too nappy or too kinky? Maybe I got good hair because I got African in my family. Who said your lips were too big? My lips are big enough so I can open up my mouth and speak truth to power, to defend the least, the lost, the left out, the last, the overlooked, the underserved and underrepresented. Who said you were too dark or too light? No, baby, God made me just right. And you got to know black don't crack, brown won't let you down, beige don't age, light it do you right. I love the skin that I'm in because black is beautiful. We must bridge our differences tonight and embrace the power of our royal history. Brother Benjamin realizing that it doesn't begin with slavery. We have to understand that our history begins with us understanding that we're kings and we're queens. We come from a royal priesthood. We are a holy nation. We are a peculiar people. So in the midst of darkness, you got to show forth the light that's already inside of you, because chains are not just metal, but they're also mental, spiritual, financial, relational, and educational. We're free physically, but shackled psychologically. Living in a dark prison without bars because of the past, because of a divorce, because of abuse, because of how you were mishandled, because of who said what over your life. Some of us are slaves to materialism. Because you buy everything, but you don't produce nothing to sell anything. Slaves to broken relationships that reduce you, but don't produce any value in you. Slaves to your dark past, which becomes a prison when your bright future is freedom. See, in this 21st century, yes, we have to do more than just engage in civil rights, but we've also got to engage in silver rights. And that is understanding that we have to be more than just purchasers, but we got to be producers. We got to do more than just sit on the couch and watch Empire, but we got to stand up and build an empire. We got to do more than just sit at home and watch Power, but we got to have some Holy Ghost power. We got to have some educational power. We got to have some economic power. We got to have some serious African black power. We got to support black businesses. As black people, we get this $1.1 trillion annually. Cars, clothes, shoes, nail done, hair done, everything did. Oh, you fancy, huh? Out of the $1 trillion, we only pour 1% of that back into our own communities. But if we took that 1% and raised it to 10%, we'd create 1 million new jobs for brothers and sisters who look just like us. Listen, I'm headed to my seat. I know you've been talked to all night. I know awards have been given out in your face. But tonight you have to ask yourself the question, what will I do tonight that goes beyond an award but it's for a heavenly reward. When we understand that if we put our money together tonight, we'd be the 12th richest nation in the world, the question becomes, who are you sitting next to? Not that you can hate on them, but you can work together with them. Is there not a cause? Because seemingly the only thing that has changed is the calendar, not the times. Too many of our people will just sit down and not do nothing. Red bottom heels, but your bank account is in the red. I know you fancy. What is it to have a Rolex watch but not know what time it is? I know you fancy where you pull up to the scene with your ceiling missing. There's got to be more than saying, I have to have a foreign card if it ain't foreign is born. There's got to be more than wearing fine clothes and being dressed up on the outside, but you messed up on the inside. The real factor is if I can help somebody as I travel along, then my living shall not be in vain. Why is that? Because we've got to let our young people know that 92% of millionaires that are black and African never got their money twerking in a video, but they worked for it. They didn't throw a football, they didn't bounce a basketball, but they rolled up their sleeves and began to develop who they were to be able to take it to the next level. We've got to let our young people know, yes, baby, you may never play in the NBA, but you can still own the team by earning an MBA. That's a Master's in Business Administration. We got to let our young girls know, even as they come out here for the fashion show, that you may never be America's next top model, but if you keep your standards high in your heels, you can be America's next top role model, because greatness flows through your DNA. You're not a liability, but you're an asset to your community and your university. You're not a stereotype, but you're a prototype for success. You're not a chump, but you're a champion. You're not a chicken, but you're an eagle. You're not a whiner, but you're a winner. You're not a warrior, but you're a warrior. You got to spread your wings and begin to soar to the next level. You're not a young thug, but you're a young scholar, because you come from kings and you shown up, come from queens. So be the rose that begins to go through the concrete. You have to have dogmatic determination in the face of diabolical racism and xenophobia and anti-immigration. It's interesting that they love immigrants only when you work for you. But when you understand that, yes, I'm a person who has greatness on the inside of me, then I can move my life to the next level. Why is that? Because as I hasten to my close tonight, the reason I can say that is because I was in a personal battle. Tonight, if we put the movie The Color Purple up on this screen, I tell you, just like Sophia, all my life I had to fight. Do I got some fighters in the building tonight?
Amen.
Because at the age of 15, I was diagnosed with NHL. I was experiencing chest pains in my body, didn't really know what was going on with me. My favorite two classes in school, I loved school, but they were gym and lunch. I love to chase the girls in gym and then sit down and eat with them at lunch. I was falling asleep in class due to the pains that I was experiencing. Raised without a father in my life. How do you play a role when you weren't given a script? How do you become a man when you don't see one? Feeling these chest pains and didn't want to talk about it, because oftentimes as brothers we don't give ourselves the space and the place to be vulnerable. Oftentimes vulnerability and masculinity cannot coexist in the same space as seen as femininity. Over my friend's house, can't breathe by halftime, the doctor, his mother takes me to the hospital, my mother meets me there, the doctors do a CT scan of the chest, and they see they need to do an x-ray, and they take me to surgery immediately, and they see my cells in my body are growing so fast they can see them growing with the naked eye. Around my heart, my trachea, my esophagus, my voice box, the place I'm speaking to you out of right now. Dr. Pam, I felt great coming out of surgery. The doctor says, Eddie, you have what we call NHL. I thought I hit the Powerball, never played the lottery, because for me, NHL stood for National Hockey League. I said, I'm getting ready to be the youngest owner of a National Hockey League team, and I don't even like the sport. I'm tired of seeing white folks hit something black. Y'all don't want to talk to me tonight. Doctor says, no, you have non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. I said, Doc, my first language is Ebonics. I'm still trying to learn English. What do you mean? He says, you have not one, not two, not three, but four. I felt my pockets to find $4. He says, you had stage 4 cancer. I said, how is this happening to me? I'm young, I'm black, I'm male, I'm playing varsity basketball, I'm in school doing what I need to do. Why is this happening to me? Have you ever been through something where you say, I've been a pretty good Christian? I go to church, I go to Bible study, I help out in my community, I served on the Dear Awards committee. Why? I can think of about 10 people who should be in the situation that I am right now. But you have to understand that God doesn't just take you through things. He allows you to go through it so that he can show you who's really the boss.
Amen.
Who can show you has the power in the situation. For the next 2 years, lost all my hair, lost my self-confidence, my self-esteem. My own father didn't visit me one day in the hospital, but if it wasn't for a praying mama, I wouldn't be here tonight. I don't know about y'all, but my mama prayed for me, had me on her mind, took the time to pray for me. And she said, you got to go to Psalm 118, which says, you shall not die, but live and declare the works of the Lord. Everybody in life gets knocked down, but a knockout is not knocked down. It's not a knockout unless you stay down. You got to get back up again. To find the first 3 letters in cancer spells what, y'all? Say it loud and proud. You can overcome. You can survive. Because your own ethnicity tells you what it is. My own guidance counselor in high school told me I'd never go to college, but I had to have the mindset to say I can. And the same lady who told me I'd never go to college had to show up to my graduation from college, to where I earned a PhD, but for her it stood for a player-hater degree. Let people doubt you, but you can't let it stop you, because your own ethnicity tells you that the last 4 letters in African spells what? Not just can, but I can. You can do all things through Christ that strengthens you, because greatness flows through your DNA. Kendrick Lamar would say, you got royalty, you got loyalty inside your DNA. Let the idea of a light bulb be ignited by the filament of a Lewis Latimer to see greater than ever before. The scream of a Malcolm X is inside of you. Dr. King's dream lives inside of you. Frederick Douglass, Medgar Evers, invent like George Washington Carver. Reinvent like Fannie Lou Hamer, Rosa Parks, Barbara Jordan. Turn pain into poetry like Maya Angelou. Knock out oppression like Muhammad Ali. Hit a home run and break barriers like Jackie Robinson. Pick up the baton and recognize it's your time to run your race like a Jesse Owens. Ladies, be a queen like Coretta Scott King. Maintain the audacity of hope like a Barack Obama. When they go low, you ought to go high like a Michelle Obama. Represent the people like Barbara Jordan. Tell the truth like Sojourner Truth. Rise to new heights like Dorothy Height. Turn pain into poetry like Maya Angelou. Take it all the way to Detroit and demand RESPECT like Aretha Franklin. Get active and demand equal rights like a Fannie Lou Hamer. Look at the clock and recognize it's your time like a Benjamin Banneker. Let your ideas be like a light bulb ignited by the filament of a Lewis Latimer. You are modern day Marcus Garvey, Nelson Mandela, Booker T. Washington, Winnie Mandela, Steve Biko, W.E.B. Du Bois, Booker T. Washington, Stokely Carmichael. You come from kings and you sure enough come from queens. Be the rose that grows through concrete. I'm grateful for a Martin. I'm grateful for a Malcolm. I'm grateful for a Medgar and a Mandela. But most importantly, out of all these heroes who could get dear awards tonight, I'm thankful for the greatest civil rights soldier that the world has ever known, and his name is Jesus, who laid his body down, shedding his own blood, and said, nobody takes my life, but I pick it back up and I'll rise again. Just like Maya Angelou tonight, whether you're in Africa, whether you're in Tanzania, whether you come from Kenya, Cameroon, we've got to rise more than ever before tonight. Rise, we come too far to give up now. More than ever before to let justice roll down like waters and righteousness like a mighty stream. Give that neighbor a high five tonight and tell him, yes you can. Yes you can birth the dream. Yes you can be someone who does something good in your hood. You ought to say, by any means necessary, I'm unapologetically a child of God. By any means necessary, I'm unapologetically gifted. By any means necessary, I'm unapologetically chosen. By any means necessary, I'm unapologetically African. Kenya, you ought to make some noise tonight. Cameroon, Liberia, Ghana, do it for Somalia, do it for Uganda, do it for Tanzania, do it for Zambia, do it for Nigeria, do it for Ethiopia. Is Africa in this house? Is the Caribbean in this house? Because you got to say that we're better together. God bless you tonight. It's your time to take a stand. When they bring up issues and tell them what you couldn't do, give them a tissue for their issue and give them and tell them God bless you. But as you walk across this stage, this is what you do to every hater that comes in your face. Tell them I can, and I'm going to put some respect on my name. God bless you.